Welcome to Wine Soundtrack South Africa. Listen to the passion with which producers narrate their winery and their world. In 30 answers, discover their stories, personalities, and passions.
Hello friends and listeners of Wine Soundtrack, this is Morena Kalo, and today I have the pleasure of speaking to a wonderful lady, Elunda Basson, who is from Steenberg Winery. Elunda, a very warm welcome, even though it is absolutely pouring and cold today. Can you tell me more about yourself, please?
Yes, thanks, Morena. My name is Elunda Basson, and I'm the cellar master and the chief operating officer for Steenberg Vineyards in Constantia.
Tell me about Steenberg. Where is it located? What will we find if we go to the farm?
So Steenberg is located at the bottom end of the Constantia wine route. We're approximately 5 kilometers from the False Bay coastline, 5 kilometers from Hout Bay, and we're just an incredible wine farm that offers so much more than just vineyards and wine. If we look at the bigger Steenberg estate that we share on the property, we also have an 18-hole golf course. We have an incredible boutique hotel and spa and 2 beautiful restaurants, and then we share our beautiful property with some homeowners as well. So much more than just wine, definitely wine and hospitality as a bigger brand.
And tell me, how many hectares are under vine at Steenberg?
Of the larger estate that consists of about 100 hectares, we've got about 60 hectares currently under vine, of which 60% is Sauvignon Blanc, and the rest consists of smaller varietals like a little bit of Nebbiolo, some Semillon, and then the Bordeaux reds, Merlot, Cab, and Malbec.
Okay, and roughly how much is your annual production on average?
So this year was a really healthy average for us for the last 5 years. So we do about 1,000 tons. The winery, the cellar size is also spec'd for about 1,000 tons.
And I know you've got a really large local following, but for our international listeners, where will they be able to find your wines?
Yeah, so as a brand, I think we've worked really hard during the last 2 years of pandemic and COVID and wine sale restrictions to really have a look at the brand and where it's selling well and how we can grow that. And we're proud to say that we've managed to increase our exports up to about 20% of what we produce currently, and our biggest export markets at the moment are really the old world in Europe, especially the Netherlands and the Scandic countries, and then small volumes into the UK, where we've only just in the last year really started exporting into, and so US and UK are future focus areas.
About yourself, do you have any specific memories pertaining to where your love for wine might have begun, like a moment, a seminal moment of when you thought, wow, this stuff is kind of special?
Yeah, I think as a child growing up, I have family connections with farms in the Northern Cape, which are basically animal farming. And as a child, I grew up really passionate about animals and always kind of knew that I wanted to go into agriculture one day. And so when I started my BSc Agric studies at Stellenbosch, I think the big shift came when I realized that I really wanted to practice agriculture in the beautiful winelands of the Cape, and the big focus in the winelands is wine agriculture. Of course, that in combination with some incredible wine tasting experiences as a young student on a Friday afternoon in Stellenbosch and the winelands brings back incredible memories of frequenting little farms just outside of Stellenbosch like Murati and Dalheim, and being introduced to sweet dessert wines like Dalheim Spatzendrek. And I think that just made me realize that I want to remain in this beautiful part of South Africa and the Cape, but also in understanding and appreciating that wine and vineyards are grown all over the world. And being someone who really loves traveling, I thought that would be a great opportunity to continue the love of what we do in the Cape Winelands by also experiencing making wine across the rest of the world.
And it's on exactly that note that I would like to ask you, taking into consideration that you have travelled the world fairly extensively, no doubt having tried many amazing wines along your way, are there any wines that really stand out for you that you can mention that from other countries around the world that left an indelible mark on your memory, either good or bad?
Yes, absolutely. No, I'm privileged to say that most international travels and experiences have been positive. I think something that left a huge impression on me was the final year Elsenburg Students Tour, where as a young adult and only just finished my studies at Elsenburg, being able to travel Tuscany and taste beautiful super Tuscan wines in Italy, and falling in love with the people, the language, the passionate way in which they live their lives, left a lasting impression, and a big passion for everything Italian. I remember an incredible visit we did to the sparkling wine area in Italy called Franciacorta, where we had the most amazing Italian bottle fermented sparkling wines. I remember a visit to Robert Mondavi and Opus One in California that left a lasting impression, and an appreciation for incredible Cabernet wines. I remember several visits and the opportunity to actually do a harvesting season and travel Champagne as a region in 2009. That definitely changed my way of looking at bottle fermented sparkling wines, which I'm very passionate about, and the fact that the Cap Classique Association, as a team of South African Cap Classique producers, have had several opportunities to travel to Champagne, to spend time with Champagne producers and really appreciate beautifully crafted bottle fermented wines from other parts of the world, but especially from France. So many memorable visits and so many incredible wines that stand out in my wine memory. Yeah.
So, and this is possibly me reflecting my personal view of you as, for me, the queen of South African Cap Classique. You used to work for a big Cap Classique producer for a number of years. You moved to Steenberg fairly recently, where you still continue to make some spectacular Cap Classiques as well as sparkling wines. But specific to Steenberg, now you're playing with some interesting still wines. Is there something within this specific sector that really kind of turns you on, that excites you a lot?
Yes, I really am fortunate in having had more than a decade's opportunity to really specialize in terms of the making of Cap Classique and sparkling wines. And then it's actually this month we're celebrating 3 years at Steenberg. The opportunity to really get back into getting stuck into proper premium and super premium still wines. And I think the beauty of the Constantia wine route and a brand like Steenberg is that we really delve into being authentically representative of our terroir. And I think we try and make terroir expressive wines And for us, that's being true to what our brand represents. I don't think it would be as successful as a brand if we were trying to be something that we're not. And why would we, when we're located in this incredible maritime, oceanic kind of terroir where we get to express something unique to anywhere else in South Africa? And that's been very, very exciting, getting back stuck into especially a variety like Sauvignon Blanc that can be so dynamic, having the opportunity at Steenberg to do Sauvignon 5 different ways. And then on the red side of the portfolio, getting back stuck into beautiful, cool climate Bordeaux-led styles of red wines. That's been a great passion of mine, and it's great to be back in that space where I have the opportunity to work with incredible vineyards located in an amazing terroir and trying my best to express that in the wines that we make.
It really, what you have here in Constantia is really special and unique. And I must say, having tasted quite extensively some of the Sauvignon Blancs that are produced in this region, I certainly think that hanging your hat on Sauvignon Blanc is certainly the way to go. However, some of these reds that I've tasted from this region are absolutely mind-blowing and really should not be ignored. So to our listeners, definitely, if you do ever make your way out to Constantia, don't just get stuck on the Sauvies. Steenberg's flagship wine, what is it, what's in it, and what does it cost?
So I think we have different flagships, as you mentioned. I think in our Cap Classique category, we have the Lady R, which is a vintage Cap Classique with a minimum of 5 years on lease. And that's around 500 plus rand a bottle, depending on where you're shopping. And then in our white still wines, I think the flagship would definitely be our Magna Carta, which is a Sauvignon Semillon, so a white blend, usually a barrel selection of the best Sauvignon and the best Semillon in combination with, together giving us an incredible, elegant and ageable white blend. And then in the red category, definitely the flagship has to be the Bordeaux blend, the Caterina, which pays tribute to our incredible original owner of the farm, Caterina Ras. Bordeaux blend, as I mentioned, and retailing at about 350 rand a bottle.
So you mentioned 2 restaurants on the property. One is the Bistro and the other one is Trin or Train, depending on how you want to say it, referring to Caterina Ras. So food and wine is obviously a very important part of what you do and your ethos at Steenberg. Do you have any wine and food pairing recipes or tips, or what is your philosophy on pairing food with wine?
Yes, definitely. I think that's definitely one of the benefits behind the brand is to have incredible food and wine experiences on the farm, as you mentioned. I automatically think at our incredible executive chef, Kerry Kilpin, that is behind both restaurants, Trin and Bistro, and the design of the different food menus. And I think when you do get to visit the farm, you'll notice that we have preferred food and wine pairings with most of the items on the menus, because we want to make sure that the food and the wine experience is an absolute celebration of the best that Steenberg has to offer. And because of that, I think a lot of our social media, a lot of our communication with our customers, a lot of the communication with our very strong Steenberg Wine Club that we have is always trying to pair our wines with food menus that work with what we're serving at the restaurants. So we often run communications to consumers of how to pair, where Chef Kerry shares some of her favorite recipes to prep at home, or to come and enjoy at our restaurants with our beautiful wines. But yes, I think the whole hospitality experience is very important to Steenberg because it's part of what we have to offer.
Okay, so a UFO filled with aliens lands at Steenberg. And these aliens have traveled a long way. They're really, really thirsty. What would you pour them to drink?
Wow. Well, if they're really thirsty, I guess we could try and get through the whole portfolio. Oh, that's a hard one. But I think what we see at Steenberg as being our stands out would be definitely a little welcome intro, and just to get everyone nice and relaxed would definitely be the bottle fermented Steenberg Sparkling Sauvignon, because that's something quite unique and fun for Steenberg, being bottle fermented but not a Cup Classique and non-traditional grape variety, but utilizing Sauvignon, which is part of our story. And then potentially, once everyone's really nice and relaxed, moving on to something a little bit more serious, but definitely also typical and a terroir expression, kind of a naked Sauvignon Blanc. I would like to show them the Steenberg Black Swan, which is one of my own personal favorites. And then maybe finishing off with something like Caterina, which is the best of the best of what we do in terms of Bordeaux red blend.
You're clearly going to show them a good time while they're there. Do you have any good luck rituals or anything like that you believe in or do or practice when it's harvest time?
Oh, good luck rituals in harvesting season. I do have a little bit of a little bit of a nick in terms of how I see the vintages in the South African wine industry. In terms of, there's a little bit of nervousness and added stress when it comes to even number vintages. I kind of have a thing where if I look back in history, especially the last millennium of winemaking, I do kind of feel like the uneven vintages were the better quality ones. So when my first vintage at Steenberg was 2020 being a round number, that was quite stressful for me to make sure that my first vintage needs to be a good one, regardless of what Mother Nature gives us. But good luck, no, I don't think. Harvesting season is such an incredible time of the year for a winemaker. Regardless of how many vintages you've done, every year is a brand new slate. It's a brand new piece of paper. It's a blank, and you can start all over. And that's just super exciting for a winemaker. It just keeps things interesting, and that's what we love. We don't like any 2 days to be the same. So there's brand new opportunity in every harvesting season. So just a happy and exciting time of the year to be alive and to have the opportunity to create new wines that we all kind of feel like they're our babies. So, yeah.
And it is certainly that variation and the uncertainty that keeps you on your toes. Hey, it's a big part of the job. When you're not in the cellar and working, what do you do in your free time?
So free time for a mom of two grown-up teenagers, very little of that. But free time in terms of time spent with family. Unfortunately, my kids don't go to school out of home, so they're in boarding school at the moment. So for us, that means family time means weekends together, and the teenagers being very active and involved in lots of school activities and sports. So supporting them and just quality time with friends and family.
I totally feel you on spending that quality time over weekends with the kids. Are you into music? Do you have any favorite genres, any favorite bands, individuals whose music you really enjoy?
I'm an 80s girl. So 80s and 90s, best decades for music. But in saying that, I think I'm quite open to listening to a lot of different genres. And growing up as a little girl, I remember the music of the 60s and the 70s also. I remember my dad passionately being mad about everything Elvis, and those kind of Elvis records bring back beautiful memories. So yeah, anything 80s and 90s. Again, I have to listen to a heck of a lot of new music while I'm being mom's taxi for two teenagers. But I love music. I think music adds color to our lives, and it's always been a big part of my life. But I think we all always fondly think back of music that we listened to when we were younger, young teenagers and in our 20s, and that goes across all decades and all ages. So yeah, fond of the old stuff.
And what about movies? Are there any movies that you've got, this is my top 3 that I can watch any time? And
I recall as a youngster probably watching Never Ending Story something like 30 times, and besides that maybe 1 or 2 other movies. I at least stayed awake through Top Gun, and that movie had an incredible music soundtrack, so I remember that. But later in my life, I'm quite bad with movies. I tend to fall asleep after the first 30 minutes, so no.
A Never-Ending Story, the amount of times I cried, and when that poor horse got sucked into the quicksand, oh my word, don't even get me started. What was the best piece of advice you've ever received, or is there a best piece of advice that you would be able to give us?
Sure. I think I've received lots of good advice through my professional lifetime, but also in my personal capacity. Strangely enough, I've been around for quite some time, but even today I'm still struggling to make peace with who I am and the value that I have as a person, as a mom, as a professional winemaker. And so I think if I look back at my career, if I had owned my space and appreciated my value as a person and as a winemaker at an earlier stage of my career, I think I potentially could have added more value. But I'm at a wonderful stage in my life where I'm at peace with who I am, my strengths and my weaknesses, and I think that is a very liberating place to be. But I think in saying that, I don't think we appreciate and understand that about ourselves in our 20s. We're still figuring out who we are in our 20s, And then when we get to our 30s, potentially we're a little bit more confident, but still figuring things out. And it's only when we hit the beautiful 40s where we just go, you know what? Actually, I don't care. I'm happy to love myself. And I recognize that I have things that I'm good at and others that I'm not. And that's also okay.
You know, I must say, as a fellow 40-plusser, it really resonates with me, what you've said. And I think I often heard when I was in my 30s from women who were in their 40s who said, I've accepted myself. I'm not as hard on myself as I was when I was younger. And now that I'm there myself, I really, really can understand what that is about, and it's very liberating indeed. Complete the sentence. A table without wine is like.
A meal without dessert. A day in your life without hearing, I love you, Mom. And a day without a kiss or a hug.
That's deep. That is deep. Okay, so do you think that people will still be drinking wine in 2,000 years' time?
Yes, and yes. Hopefully drinking more than they are today.
That'll be nice. I like that thought. Okay, so you have shown these aliens who are visiting Steenberg a wonderful time. And in fact, they liked it so much that they've invited you to join them in their spaceship to go and check out their world. And they've asked you to please bring with, they love this thing called wine. Please can you bring with 3 bottles, any 3 bottles of wine in our spaceship. What would you take?
Oh, that's not fair. That's never fair. That's never fair. That's to choose. In terms of a specific brand or a style or a varietal?
It's your question.
In my personal capacity, life would be nothing without a fabulous bottle of bubbles, because that gets the party started. And then depending on what the aliens are going to serve us, I guess we're going to have a white and a red. So I am thinking it'll have to be a beautiful bottle of Sauvignon Blanc, and that has to be from Constantia. And then just to be a little oddball, potentially for the fun and for the interesting conversations that it usually leads into, it would be a bottle of Steenberg Nebbiolo. Because I bet they'd never heard of Nebbiolo before.
Let's hope they've never been to Italy before. Okay, we're almost done, but before we finish up, I want to play a little game with you. I'm going to name 3 varieties, and you are going to pair each one with a song or a music artist or band or genre, something that you feel really represents that variety. And since we're on it, let's kick off with Nebbiolo.
Nebbiolo will have to be a little bit of Italian, so potentially like a nice Eros Ramazzotti Italian pop song, I think. Yeah.
Okay, that's a very good start. Let's go to bubbly. And let's be different. Pinot Meunier.
Ooh. Oh, that's a hard one. So it would have to be French. It would have to be something soothing. I'm thinking a little bit of Edith Piaf, somewhere in a little street cafe in Paris.
And like Pinot Meunier, you only need a little bit to make a statement. I think I'd like to kind of continue along this thread, but it can open up differently. Let's just go with Chardonnay.
Ooh. That's a hard one because Chardonnay could go in a lot of different directions. But I think Chardonnay for me would be, in terms of blanc to blanc bubbly, and I kind of see Chardonnay as being quite strong, quite roxy, quite cheeky, and female. So I'm thinking a little bit of Tina Turner.
And the way she does that funny little dance that she... Yes.
Sexy legs.
Yes.
A lot of attitude.
I feel Tina. I definitely feel Tina. Elunda, thank you so much for chatting to us today. It's been an absolute pleasure learning more about you, about Steenberg and the amazing wines you make there. Before we finish off, please leave us with some information. If our visitors were to check you out online, where can they find you? And just a few tips on what they would expect to find if they ever made their way to Steenberg Farm.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to share some of my passions and a little bit about Steenberg with you. I think if you guys want to have a look at what we have to offer, just jump on the website or even on social media, Instagram, Facebook. We're at Steenberg Farm. And like we mentioned earlier, Steenberg is so much more than just a wine brand. It's a beautiful golf estate, a hotel, spa, and 2 incredible restaurants. We have a wine tasting space located next to the bistro in the winery building. Incredible vineyards, lots of open spaces where people can come and enjoy the open air and the beautiful farm and the vineyards. And I just think Steenberg really represents so much more than just a wine brand, but an incredible hospitality experience. And we'd like to invite everyone to come and visit the home of the brand and see what Steenberg's all about.
I'm sure they definitely will put this on their list. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to a new episode of Wine Soundtrack South Africa. For details and updates, visit our website winesoundtrack.com.